Hi everyone, this is Henny Espinosa with Just Wish Foundation. Today we are joined by the founder of the Milo Foundation, the founder and the director of the organization, Lynn Tingle, who has made it her mission to protect and to help animals in need. Thanks so much for joining us on Just Wish, Lynn.
Thank you, honey. I'm so glad to be here.
Lynn, so tell us a little bit about your background and have you always had this passion for animals growing up?
Yes, of course. Growing up, I was always, your classic bring every animal home and, find the little baby quail that was not doing well and, bringing home lizards and snakes and any animal I could find and, trying to convince my parents to let me have dogs and cats and whatnot. But back then it was, the dogs are just outside and, grew up with Siberian Huskies in Los Angeles, not ideal, but yeah, always had a passion for animals and, they give me a lot. And so now I'm trying to give them a lot.
Well, what is it about animals you think that drew you to them from the get-go?
Well, animals are accepting and, they don't typically, talk back or hold a grudge or whatnot. They're happy to see you. They're comforting. They are, they give a lot of joy and, they're there for you when no one else is, quite often.
Unconditional love, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about meeting Milo for the first time. What was that like for you? So Milo, of course, is really your Milo is how would you describe Milo? Would you say this Milo really set you in the direction of your life that allows you now to help other animals? But Milo is a really special pet of yours. So tell us about that moment that you met Milo. What was that like? And take us back to that moment.
Sure. He was born in my house in Berkeley. I had his mom, this was way back. I think I was about 26, 25 years old, maybe. And, it was before I knew anything about animal population issues or animals at the pound and all of that kind of thing. Because back then, there wasn't rescue. There weren't animals being talked about at the shelters or whatnot. The shelters were just places that people kind of vaguely knew. If they lost their animal, they would, go there. But adoption wasn't really a household word or mentality. So my father, one of the best things probably ever that he gave me was mom of Milo, which is a little Australian Shepherd named Annie. And, classic, Christmas surprise, whatever. But he knew that I wanted an Australian Shepherd because he had Australian Shepherds and he was, basically kind of a cowboy of sorts out in the country in New Mexico. And I loved his dog, Alexander. And just, I would like to go visit, but mostly just to hang out with the dogs and the horses. So anyway, surprise, he gives me Annie, just fabulous. But with the caveat, of course, with fathers, sometimes there's always a caveat, right? That we breed her with Alexander. So that happened. They were both Blue Merle, purebred Australian Shepherds from very different, breeders and whatnot. And Australian Shepherds were not in the pet trades. They were just working country dogs. People didn't see Australian Shepherds walking down the streets of Berkeley or anywhere. They just weren't around. And so I got Annie, and I could barely walk a block in Berkeley, and people would just go, and like, oh my God, what is that dog? Because she was a Blue Merle and very, colorful, and must be some of everything, or just anyways, she was an amazing dog. And so then we did the breeding thing. And Milo was the first one born. And he was a roly-poly, a lot of white with Blue Merle on him. And then there was another Blue Merle and the rest were black tries. And so when the puppies started being able to, see and hear and respond, because of course they're all deaf and blind when they're born, and it takes about 2 weeks for the eyes to open, and their ears are actually closed too, and then they start to be able to hear. And so when you go in, puppies are all in their little milk comas from nursing, and then you go, puppies, whatever, and the other ones would be like, and he would just be sleeping unless, of course, the movement from the other puppies, woke him up. Very sound sleeper. Anywho, so over time, as the puppies grew to be, 6 weeks or whatever, he could still see a little bit then, just high contrast, light and dark. So he could follow a flashlight in a darker room, he would be able to do that some. But anyways, they
So
lose
you
that.
did you realize then, Lynn,
Yeah.
that something was not
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh, of course. And so sight impaired, hearing impaired, but he was always like the happiest, and always got to the biggest peak on the mom, and just loved playing and feeling his way out in the world. And as he grew, then I could stomp on the floor, and he'd come towards the sound, or the vibration. um, and so the other puppies, they all got homes, and they all got spayed and neutered, and I just said, Milo's going to stay with me and with Annie, his mom. And then, of course, I got a lot of pushback from my parents, friends. I was very busy. I was an artist, and also doing visual merchandising and display and full-time job, and blah blah blah. And how are you going to possibly do this? Yeah, he needs to be euthanized. And I'm like, no, he doesn't, because he was just full of life,
Mhm.
and we just figured stuff out as we went along. And
Mhm.
eventually, when he became, a teenager or whatever, they're very smart dogs. And he would read the ground like Braille. I was in the suburbs in Berkeley, and he'd stay on the sidewalk. Ended up with just a bamboo stick,
Mhm.
and I could just tap him on one side or the other, and he would turn that way or not. And then if I tapped him on his rear, he would stop and he would sit. If
Mhm.
he ever stepped off the sidewalk, he would then step back and wait for me. If I put a leash on him, he was just like uncle. It's like, okay, leash is on. I'm just so secure in the world. I'm just blasting out of here. Um, so I just walked him off leash, and just with my little tapping stick,
Mhm.
and he did great. He was an amazing dog. He had
Wow.
a seventh sense. I mean, he had more than a sixth sense.
So
Yeah,
you had a very special relationship. Both of you
yeah,
guys really were in tune with each other,
very much.
um, very aware, and
Yep.
you became Milo's seeing eye person.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
So how did Lynn, how did loving Milo, supporting him, helping him, you know, despite his abilities, allow you to open your heart to other animals in need?
Well, I was, working on 4th Street in Berkeley, and I started going to the animal shelter, which is on 2nd Street. And I would just go and take some of the animals out and take photographs and try and promote them, because people didn't know, and there
Mhm.
were really nice dogs there. And this was when the animal shelters were run by the police department.
Mm.
They're just kind of there. They're either going to get taken or they're going to get put down, just very cut and dry. If they started to cough, they would just euthanize them.
Mm.
Very not a lot of emotional connection, or
Mhm.
it was just sort of the way it was. Um, so I would start promoting them, and on 4th Street, which is a popular shopping district. I'd introduce them to the other store owners and people, and there would even be like little Yorkie type dogs, and there'd be labs and Rottweilers, and every kind of dog, of course. And this was before the pit bull craze kind of took over. So
Mhm.
um, I'd take them out of the grass. I'd take photos, and I'd foster, I'd just take one home at a time, because I was busy and working a lot. Um, so anyways, I just really felt like something more needed to be done for
Mm-hmm.
these animals in the shelters, and that people really were clueless about the
Mm-hmm.
fact that there are really lovely animals in
Mm-hmm.
the shelters just being killed with no one having a clue that
Mm-hmm.
that was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after doing 10 years in retail and visual merchandising and whatnot, I was just done. I was done with the things and stuff and beautiful, Italian stone tables and gorgeous, items for the home and whatnot. And I just, my heart was just drawn to helping animals instead of
Mm-hmm.
helping people design their homes and whatnot. So
So
uh,
then you decided to
start
finally
my,
start the Milo Foundation.
yes.
What year was this, Lynn? And kind of really tell us about the beginnings
Sure.
of the foundation.
So in 1993, I started looking around for property. Um, and of course, I looked around in like Sonoma County and whatnot, and the zoning and the prices and whatnot weren't panning out for what I actually had to begin this. Um, so we ended up east of Willits in Mendocino County on what is now 283 acres. Um, and I took a bunch of dogs and some cats from Berkeley Shelter, and Annie and Milo were both still with me. And so in 94, I got the nonprofit status. So that's our official anniversary is August of 94. So next year we're actually turning 30.
Wow.
And yeah, and we've saved about 45,000 animals.
Wow, 45.
So
So does this just is this just dogs or has this
dogs and
expanded to other
cats.
animals?
We also had horses for a while. We've had some other farm animals, donkeys, sheep, a couple of cows, um, various critters, pigs. We still have two pigs. We have six chickens. Excuse me, six chickens. But pretty much now it's basically dogs and cats. I
Uh-huh.
mean, they're the ones that are so very in need.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of nice farm sanctuaries and other people doing good work for the farm animals. So we just are pretty much
Mhm.
concentrating on dogs.
So tell us about these dogs and cats, Lynn.
Yeah,
What is their condition? What is their situation? And why is help so much needed for them?
it is literally worse now in 2023 than it was back in 1994, 1995, which was brutal. I was going to the shelter in Mendocino County, and there'd be piles of euthanized dogs out in the rain on the gravel before their bodies are gonna get burned up in the incinerator. Rooms full of cats with needles in them. It was much more hands-on then than it is now because the internet wasn't really evolved, and you had to go and be there and who's going to live, who's going to die.
Mhm.
And at that time in the 90s, there was a pretty horrible man running the Mendocino County shelter in Ukiah.
Mhm.
There only were, I think, 14 kennels, and two of them were big. And they would pack each of these kennels with all the big dogs,
Mhm.
and they would sell them to the police department and ammunition labs and whatnot. So basically, they were going to be shot to death because dogs explode, or their flesh responds to bullets much like humans.
Mhm.
So horrible things. And
Yeah.
I would go in and say, I want to take four of those, and this, nope, paperwork's been done, they're out of here. And just heartbreaking stuff. You look at these friendly, happy Labradors and golden retrievers looking at you, and wanting to come out, and they're going to go get shot to death. Ugh. Anyway, so it was brutal in the beginning, I must say. But right now, what's going on in the animal world is it's really a crisis. I mean, it's just there are so many things affecting the where we are right now. All the animal shelters are overflowing.
Mm.
Pre-COVID, everyone was aiming towards no kill. Early COVID, of course, everyone adopted every animal they could because everyone was desperate when they're locked up at home to have the companionship. And now people are dumping those dogs. And also, those animals weren't spayed and neutered. So we have the puppies and then the puppies. People are losing their housing and not being able to find a house where they can have a big dog. Big dogs, in particular, are in jeopardy right now because they're not allowed to have them in the homes. They're more expensive. Dot dot dot. But on top of just the numbers flowing into the animal shelters, there's the lack of veterinary care and low cost spay neuter. So that is just a full circle really bad mix because there's just way too many animals.
Mm-hmm.
Some shelters aren't taking them. Like, unless you have a sick or injured animal, Contra Costa County won't take them. If you find a stray, is it sick or injured? No. Well, then no, you just go put it back where you found it. That's what they're telling me. I mean, that is not humane care. That is not taking care of the public or the animals. And it's sickening. And then, we as a rescue, of course, we need vet care. We take animals from all over California. We need to get them vet care. They come in with, broken bones or some weird lump, or, they have respiratory illnesses. We can't get into the vets, for everyday vet care. The appointments are 2 months out. Spaying and neutering is 2 or 3 months out. We drive 30 to 35 animals twice a month for a 2.5-hour drive to Prunedale to actually get our animals spayed and neutered. But that is not, we need more than that. So it's
and there's
just
not a lot of people opening their homes now to adopt or to give these, or to foster at least.
Yeah, fostering is very important. Everyone that fosters is really part of the life-saving mission. It definitely helps rescue more animals and, of course, keep them out of a shelter or kennel environment. So that's, we always preach, foster, please. And we do. We have a lot of great fosters. We have a lot of great volunteers that really help make the work happen. So I started Milo up at the sanctuary, and every weekend, unless it was, horribly raining and storming, I would drive the animals down from Mendocino to Berkeley. Sometimes San Rafael, sometimes San Francisco, but typically to 4th Street in Berkeley. And I drive this van down, and I developed a group of volunteers, and we would publicize it, and we'd have a crowd of people waiting to adopt. So, and they really responded because up in the country, there were more puppies because country people let their dogs run around and breed. So we built up a pretty good following pretty quickly. And we would do 40 adoptions, in 2 days on a weekend.
Wow.
And it was insane. There'd be all these people, and you're trying to actually have a conversation, and then the family over there is going, whatever. It was just this kind of crazy energy and enthusiasm. But also, it's hard to really get a good sense of, they had to fill out a questionnaire, of course, but after 10 years of doing that, it was just about to kill me. I was starting to fall asleep on the drive coming down. I was just worn out. So then we did a capital campaign to get our first brick and mortar pet adoption store. So that was, a real turnover and a change, so we could actually have people come to a location and we could have more considered adoptions and
Yeah.
actually spend
So
more time with people, and they would actually have a place and they could,
yeah.
so we had outgrown it 6 months after we moved in there. It was a small vet office, and Marin has a very strict governance. Anyways, it wasn't working out great. It was too small and confining, and there were too many limits on the time and whatnot that we could have dogs out in the yard. Anyway, so I started looking again and found our space here in Point Richmond, which it was a raw space. We built it out with the kennels, and it's a good location. It took a little while for people to get, it's okay, Marinites, you can come over to Point Richmond. It's safe, it's beautiful, it's a great little town, and come adopt. And then we actually get adopters from all over Northern California, and sometimes further. We just adopted a dog up to Washington, But anyways,
so your space now is in Point Richmond.
Point Richmond, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
How many animals are there now, and how big is the space, Lynn?
Space is about 5,000 square feet, and we have about 40 to 45. I just came back, from Mexico yesterday, so I don't have the exact count, but I think we're at about 4 in the upper 40s of canines, and then we have about 35 felines, maybe. Might be a little lower on the felines. We don't have a lot of canines right now. So we range, 100 is high. That would be having a lot of kittens and a couple litters of puppies. We try not to keep puppies in the facility. We try and have them be at foster homes because it's just, they can have space and they can go in people's yards. Kittens, actually, we try and have fostered as well. So we do a lot of adoptions just directly out of the foster homes, which is great. Or we line up, but there's a lot of people that have sent in applications, and then we just have the puppies or the kittens come on Saturday or Sunday, and then we do all the adoptions then. But we try not to have the babies, because they're developing. They need enrichment. They need activity. They need space,
Yeah. Lynn, how do you feel that, well, Milo passed like a few years after you founded the Milo Foundation, right?
Yeah.
But how do you feel that Milo really inspired you to do this and to continue to do this? There, like you said, that the situation is much more worse now, and that's why more help is needed from the community. How do you feel when you look back and you really realize the impact that you had on the community, on the animals? That must feel so fulfilling, so good inside.
It does. And it really helps, keep me going, basically, and to keep the staff going. That the joy of seeing a pup, dog, whatever, that came in kind of, scared or broken or whatever, and then they were going to be euthanized. Right now, pretty much everyone we're pulling is, has a death date, basically. They have until Friday to get out. So, a dog that was going to be euthanized, then going off to go live in Mill Valley and go up to Tahoe in the winter and whatnot, and just, family that walks off with them and the dog's tail is wagging, and, that just makes your heart feel really warm and good inside that, this dog that was going to be dead is now going to go off and have this fabulous life. So, that's one of the things that helps keep me and the rest of us going, because it's 24/7, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
It's
I bet.
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. That's why on our part for Just Wish Foundation, we, our founder, myself, our founder, Mr. Jack Wu, were animal loving people, and we so applaud people like you, Lynn, that really take that extra step to help inspire other people to be kind to animals, to do their part as well, especially the animals in need. And we want to do our part with a monetary donation. We want to show you that we honor you, and we absolutely just applaud you for what you do, and we hope that with continued support in the community, you can keep going
Yeah.
help more animals in need. Adopt, right? Adopt.
Yeah.
There's so many animals that
Spay, neuter, and adopt.
yeah, this is I adopted Harry, so and gave me
Very
so
good
much
name.
joy, been giving me so much joy for 8 years now, and
Nice.
truly there's so many animals that still need help, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
God bless people like you who are doing the work.
Yeah. Deaf and blind doesn't stop them from being a, wonderful character, and deserving to have joy and a good life and be cared for.
Yeah,
And people are abandoning dogs.
Yeah.
They can't owners surrender them to the shelters. All the rescues are full. So, it's just, they all need and deserve homes. Yeah.
they give us so much love, and it's only right that we return that love to them.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Lynn, and to the Milo
Absolutely.
Foundation. More power to you guys, and we'll stay in touch, Lynn. Thanks so much.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.